Welcome to your High Vibration Life podcast with Robyn Openshaw, also known online as the Green Smoothie Girl. When you're living your high vibration life, you're healthier in every way. You're more productive, creative, peaceful, and loving. Your high vibration life is calling. And now your host, Robyn Openshaw.
Hey everyone, I am Robyn Openshaw and I've been online since 2007 as the Green Smoothie Girl. And welcome to episode 1, your High Vibration Life podcast. I'm having a launch party. It's going for 3 introductory episodes and I'm so excited about this. I've been looking forward to this day for so long. The day that I would launch a podcast around my favorite topic. And that is how relevant it is to your life to raise your own personal vibration. I want to share with you what that means, why it matters to optimize your vibration, how you go about living a high vibration life, and why it's actually a lot more important than many of the things that you currently devote a lot of brain space to thinking about and worrying about. Things that you might measure and think about often, but are really they're far less relevant to your overall health and even to your happiness than the frequencies you're resonating at. So like some of those things might be your resting heart rate that you think about a lot and that's less relevant than your vibration. Like how many calories you eat in a day, like what your blood pressure is. That's right, your vibration. It's way more important. I know that's a bold thing to say because you're like, gosh, I think about calories every day. I think about my blood pressure. I think about my heart rate. And no one's probably ever measured your vibration. And you've probably never discussed it with your doctor. I know it sounds so 1960s. I went out on Facebook and I asked almost 100,000 Green Smoothie Girl fans an important question. What does high vibration mean to you? So let me share with you a few of the answers I got. Arthur M. said, What? I don't even know what that means. Sounds new agey to me. Alice V. said, I'd be one of those clueless citizens the crowd laughs at on Jay Leno. I'd probably crack a joke about the Beach Boys song. Angela S. said, does it have anything to do with our frequency? Chris W. said, crystal meth? Laura J. said, I saw it and immediately thought of Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Kathy S. said, everything has a vibrational frequency. The healthiest foods have the highest frequencies. Stephanie K. said, it means powerful vibrations from an earthquake, tremor, shaking, and quaking. Okay, so that tested my theory that nobody really knows what the heck vibration is. I was right. No one does. Well, hardly. Well, here's someone who does. Let me share this cool quote by none other than Albert Einstein. Everything in life is vibration. Einstein, wasn't he dead by the 1960s, you might be thinking? Yeah, he was. Because in the 1960s, the flower child hippie era co-opted a concept that's actually been documented since then in quantum physics. But it was discovered by Einstein and some other scientists. Somehow, it all got tied into smoking weed, the sexual revolution, rock and roll. It was kind of a weird phase for bringing these incredibly early discoveries of Einstein and another scientist we'll talk about, Nikola Tesla, to public awareness. The discoveries around vibration got, in a strange sequence of events, pulled into the era famous for psychedelic drugs, songs about it by the Beatles, and all kinds of other things that frankly may have slowed down the rest of us who weren't into that kind of thing back then from discovering an amazing body of truth. The whole concept of vibration actually started with some legendary scientists like Einstein and Tesla who started to become aware of what energy is and why it's literally everything. Your personal frequency is measurable, it's real, it's unavoidable, whether you had any cognition about it until now or not. And did you know this? It has everything to do with whether you're healthy and everything to do with whether you're happy. Everything. In our ongoing conversations on this podcast, where I'll have some really interesting people to interview, I'd like to let you in on how powerful it can be to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Because let me share a super rad quote by one of the greatest scientists of the last millennium, the engineer and physicist Nikola Tesla. He was a mad scientist kind of dude. He lived in a New York City hotel room until he died in his 70s after getting hit by a taxi. Oh, and he worked for Thomas Edison early in his life, and they hated one another after a big falling out. Tesla had discovered AC, or alternating current, whereas Edison was very zealous about DC, or direct current. And Edison went out and did a public demonstration all over. Like, he would just travel all over doing public demos to convince people that Tesla was going to kill everyone with AC. Well, guess what? Side note, Edison actually embraced it after a while, as did the whole world. That's how we have AC/DC now, not the rock band, but the electrical system. And lots of people preyed on the young Tesla's many discoveries. So Nikola Tesla, pretty interesting guy, right? But let me share what Tesla said that I've spent 100 hours thinking about, because this one sentence is so rich. He said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." The reason I have spent countless hours thinking about and studying vibration and energy, so much so that I spoke on this subject in 88 cities in 2014, and Simon & Schuster just bought the rights to my book on that subject, coming out in October 2017, is because of my own life and my discovery that it's true. Everything really is vibration, not just in terms of what animates the light bulb above your head and your computer, but inside your body. In your thoughts, in your emotions, lies the answers to you being much happier than you are now and much healthier than perhaps you've ever been. We're going to measure and discover your personal VIQ. That is your vibrational quotient. How high is your vibration? I'm going to tell you my own crazy story about learning how to raise my own vibration regardless of my circumstances, and how that led to the really life-changing content I want to bring to light with this podcast. There's a whole other life for you, just on the other side of a door. I want you to imagine this. Did you ever read that book or see the movie The Room? It's an amazing story, by the way, about a kid who lives his whole childhood in a room. His mother was kidnapped and locked in this room, and she gives birth to the boy, and he spends his first 5 years in one single room. And the first 80% of the book takes place in that room, told from the perspective of a 5-year-old. Partly, I was so fascinated by the metaphor of it. What if, when you were a little kid, you were locked in a room? Or so you thought. Food comes to you through a chute, and you have your basic needs covered. A toilet, a sink, some food, a few items of clothing. You make friends with the furniture. You find ways to entertain yourself. And you spend lots of years of your life in that room wishing you could get out because you can see the sky through a window at the top of the room. You know in a vague way that there's more somehow. And one day, after many, many years, you discover that all you had to do was turn the doorknob. That it was that easy. Somehow you never learned about doorknobs. And on the other side of the door was total freedom. A whole world that you hadn't ever experienced, and you'd never seen it except through a skylight in a very limited view. There's sky, there are birds flying everywhere, there's sunshine and cars. You can imagine what the last 20% of that book is like. Think about the fact that in many ways, we all live life like this. You have been in a room, not knowing there's a doorknob. We operate on some bad rules, false limitations, lack of knowledge. And that's how my journey has been. In my escape from the prison of thinking that I have to do what everyone else around me is doing, I've found massive freedom and happiness. So I want to invite you to open the door and come on out here. It's warm and sunny out here, and we're having an amazing time doing cool things I never even dreamed up when I was stuck in the room, trapped in low vibrations, other people's stuck energies, my own negative thoughts constantly on repeat, my energetically dead food. Now I do things constantly that I never knew I was capable of. So in this exploration together, I'd like to help you get there too, if you're not there already. And if you are living at your optimal personal vibrational quotient, or VIQ, I want you to tell us about it, because very frankly, not very many people are. Those who are contributing massively to the planet at any age. And they're really just loving their life and enjoying amazing health and relationships and positive energies and positive people every day. You can, just because of advances, drive to 3 different stores within 10 minutes of you probably that have hundreds of different types of colorful, nutritious fruits and vegetables from all over the world. Are you amazed by this? No, you're not. You take it for granted. You can get on a giant metal vehicle with chairs in it that fly through the sky to another city in 2 hours. But are we healthy? No, we're not. Do you want to discover the secrets of the universe yet? By the way, after these first 3 introductory episodes of my podcast, I want to do a couple of cool things. One, I'm going to have a doctor friend of mine, a doctor to the stars. She's an 8-time New York Times bestselling author. She cares for a lot of A-list celebrities. And she says, I begin assessing people energetically the minute they walk into my office. Pretty great thing to know about, right? In Europe, where I take Green Smoothie Girl readers for a week every summer to this spectacular clinic in the Swiss Alps for a liver detox, it's not considered weird or unscientific to talk about the science of energetics. By the way, I'll put the link to the page if you want to come with us on our next retreat, which is June 4th to the 11th in 2017, in the show notes. So more on all that later, but also in addition to your getting to hear from this celebrity doctor, you and I are going to vision board your own high vibration life. Yours might look a lot different than mine, and that's okay. But for right now, you can listen academically, you can listen introspectively, thinking about what all this has to do with you and your life. But we're going to get very detailed about that on this show. Your vision board is going to be a huge part of how you electrically, energetically attract the life you've always dreamed of. So I promised I'd tell you my own trapped in a room and haven't learned about doorknobs yet story. Let me take you back to a dusty town in the very south of Texas on the border of Mexico. I was raised by a health nut who was raised by a health nut in the deepest South. The Romney Produce Company was our family business. You may know one of my cousins who ran for president. We distributed produce all over the southern states for a few generations, actually. I remember my family's giant warehouses full of watermelons or Bibb lettuce or almonds. It's funny, my extended family was actually recruited about 15 years ago to be studied in a big research project on heart disease because no Romney had ever had a heart attack or a cardiac event. My grandmother raised her 7 children almost as unintentional vegetarians, not for any reason other than the fact that produce was for us more or less free. So we were just using up stuff in our warehouses, whereas we had to go buy meat products. But the dark side is, in my family, we have really terrible genetics for one thing, and that is cancer. When I was in high school, my grandmother got cancer. She was only 52 years old. She may have eaten produce from our warehouses, but she was also a Dr. Pepper addict and had some very dark things in her past that she had not dealt with. Forgiveness for abuse, and her own mother dropping dead one day of an undiagnosed cancer when she was young. Lots of repressed, stuffed anger and things like that, which we now know predisposes you to disease. Plus, back then there were no organics, but lots of spraying of that produce. So soda addict, lots of unresolved repressed anger and abuse issues, a lack of forgiveness, lots of pesticide exposure, being in the produce business, and bad cancer genetics. She was only 52, and she went about treating her very advanced stage cancer. By the time they diagnosed it, they gave her a year to live by, wait for it, refusing chemotherapy and radiation that was prescribed to her. And instead, she used natural protocols. Part of that was drinking many glasses a day of green and veggie juices. Later, I would learn the theory behind this protocol, the method to the madness known as the Gerson therapy. The idea is to flood the body with easily digested nutrition that oxygenates and alkalizes and optimizes the immune system. And in effect, it helps starve out the cancer cells and makes the body an inhospitable climate for cancer to continue to grow. Well, people thought my grandmother was crazy. They told her she was irresponsible. And at the same time, my uncle, her son, was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 31. And he was given the opposite prognosis. He was told it was stage 1 Hodgkin's disease, and that the doctor told them, if you do this protocol, I guarantee you'll be just fine. And so my uncle underwent chemotherapy and radiation for a highly treatable stage 1 Hodgkin's disease. And a year and a half later, my grandmother, doing her crazy holistic protocols, was cancer-free and would go on to live another 20 years. She was an enormous part of my life. Unfortunately, my uncle died of the effects of the chemotherapy and radiation. He was extremely grossly underweight, and it was a devastating way to leave this world. And so I watched all that growing up, and I knew better than to just mindlessly eat the standard American diet. But I did. I just kind of fell into it, taking my health for granted. And I married into a standard American diet family, and I was a broke, newly married college student. I was pretty mindless about what I was eating. And so the good news is, at 26 years old, after being very sick for years, I at least knew what to return to. I had seen it modeled to me. So when I was 70 pounds overweight and I had 21 diseases, thanks to immediately adopting the standard American diet when I left home at 18, whoa, you don't even want to know what I ate in college. My sophomore year, all I remember eating is top ramen and bananas because I could afford it and I could carry it home from the grocery store to my apartment since I didn't have a car. And I don't know if you know what's in top ramen or ramen noodles, but it's full of monosodium glutamate. I didn't know that at the time, and I wouldn't have known what that was or why I should care, but I was having neurological problems by the time I was 19. I was experiencing vertigo. I would be falling off sidewalks. I was having all kinds of migraine headaches. Luckily, I knew what to do, and my learning curve was maybe flatter than many other people's since I'd seen my own grandmother turn around one of the worst diagnoses there is, where she had a very poor prognosis. So my low vibration life, let me tell you, after quite a few years of eating primarily junk food full of sugar and chemicals and fried stuff, lots of soda, not only was I really overweight and suffering from 21 diseases, but I also had a very, very sick baby. I'd been through 5 years of infertility treatments, all the infertility tests twice, finally got pregnant and lost my baby's twin who died, and I miscarried him. Kincaid was healthy for 7 months while I was breastfeeding, but when I weaned him onto formula, his health totally crashed. He was on constant bronchodilator drugs, steroids, and antibiotics. And he was in and out of doctor's offices. He was hospitalized. He was in oxygen tents, and all of this in his first 15 months of life. He was diagnosed failure to thrive at 15 months old. So in addition to what was going on with my little guy, these were the features of my life when I was supposed to be in the prime of my life. I was tired all the time. I slept 10 hours at night and I never felt rested. I was on meds for an anxiety disorder that was probably the worst thing of all these health issues. It was so bad. I hated to travel because I didn't have any energy and just because of the anxiety. So nothing about travel or vacation was fun. I spent most of my time in low vibration activities. Okay, those are TV, sleeping, that kind of thing. I had very low sex drive, which is not normal for the age of 26 for healthy people, right? And anything I got upset about emotionally would just tip me over. I would cry a lot over small things. I spent a lot of time and energy thinking about and talking about ways that I'd been wronged by a certain family member earlier in my life I couldn't let go of. This is important to mention too. I think people close to me had to listen to a lot of negative talk about ways that I was victimized and even abused by this family member. I'm sure that was a drag for them and it brought them energetically lower. But I would go on to learn only through experience and my later graduate studies to become a psychotherapist and then practicing as one, that it actually isn't necessarily cathartic to vent to others all our dirty laundry and negative thoughts. When we say, I'm just getting it off my chest, sometimes that's a lie. Or maybe that's a harsh word. It's a rationalization. It actually hurts everyone, myself most of all, when I repeatedly talk about negative issues. In the ensuing years, I've learned to be far more constructive in the ways that I talk. I've learned to watch and care about the effect I'm having on other people I speak with, the effect that my words and actions have on their vibration. I care a lot, by the way, about the way this podcast will affect your vibration. So in this phase of my life, as I was very clearly, but almost imperceptibly because it was so gradual, I was heading into a downward frequency, partly thanks to a lot of Ben & Jerry's and hamburgers and fries and Diet Coke. My typical ambition I was born with was just gone. This was kind of a tragedy because I'm the oldest of 8 children. I ran a school for my younger siblings when I was growing up, and I was a straight A student and a classical pianist. I put myself through college debt-free teaching piano lessons, and I had started and sold 2 businesses by the time I graduated with a bachelor's degree magna cum laude. Then I got an advanced degree, and the point here is that I was really put on this planet to bring something of value to others, to do something, to accomplish something. But thanks to this state that I deteriorated into, I lost my mojo for my career, my marriage, playing sports, really anything adventurous or anything that leads to a quality life or anything that had given me joy before. Donna Eden says that the definition of living in low vibration is when your energies are going backwards when you're trying to go forwards. And the way that shows up is that things you used to like doing, you aren't enjoying anymore. I made some significant changes in my life. It all started with food. And over time, I discovered some things I'd like to share with you in these weekly episodes, and only some of them were related to my diet. The diet changes were most powerful initially. The cool thing about starting with food is that it gives you a great foundation to build from. But as I got a firm grasp on that, I also did some significant emotional healing. During these episodes, I'd love to be part of sharing some things I've learned that I think can help you in recovering from your own trauma. We'll for sure explore how diet is foundational to everything else. Whatever you're achieving in life right now, and maybe it's pretty solid. Maybe you're doing fine, but you're just not achieving your dreams, just kind of idling or plugging along. I'll tell you, if your diet is Doritos and Diet Pepsi and ding dongs, imagine how you could actually be making small tweaks in your diet, just one step at a time, to see massive changes in lots of parts of your life. By the way, I'm not going to be beating you up about your diet or anything else for that matter. That just doesn't serve. If I'm going to teach you about high vibration, I will absolutely honor that by not shaming you. Shame is low vibration. I would like to inspire you towards some easy things you can do that can make a big difference. And I will do so by helping you see and taste how high vibration it is to make these dietary shifts. We talk a lot about how if we change our diet, we'll lose weight, but we never talk about how some changes in your fuel, your food, relate to your career or what you're able to accomplish, your relationships, your sex drive, your excitement for life when you get up in the morning. So one of the primary missions of Green Smoothie Girl since I put it up in 2007 is to make eating whole foods enjoyable, easy, inexpensive, and delicious. We'll be diving into that because let's face it, it starts with food. What we all want in life more than anything else is just to feel good. It's what we're all chasing. It's also how drug, alcohol, sex addiction, all of those happen. You just want to feel good. That trap of feeling good now, even though I know I'm going to feel like crap for hours after. The good news is no matter where you're at currently, no matter how desperate things may seem or how low you're feeling, there's entirely the possibility of achieving that dream life, that total turnaround, the revelation of discovering the doorknob. On my part 2 of this intro to high vibration, I'm going to share with you an incredible principle of quantum physics that I think will really rock your world, and it's been a total game changer for how I live my life. I am so honored that you're here. If I may ask you a favor, please do me the great honor of subscribing to my new podcast and rate and review. Now, if you're a Green Smoothie Girl follower for a long time, or even if you're not, you may want to take advantage of this to go to the show notes, and there's a phone number. Call in and tell me who you are and ask a question. Okay, I'll be doing Q&A episodes over time, so hit me with your very best question. Make it a hard one. Next time, we'll talk about how to find the doorknob and open that door. In episode 3, I'm going to share with you a quiz so that you can discover what your personal vibrational quotient or VIQ is. That is dictating, whether you know it or not, how much love, how much success, and how much health you are attracting into your life. In fact, it's your happiness frequency. So get ready for your quiz, and I will see you next time.